Olo is defacing the back of my beautiful canvas with this lousy Olo spray paint thing. That literally is graffiti. She's graffitiing the back of my graffiti. That though, that is art right there. That's incredible. That one would have won. I have to know, what's your story?
So I think for me it's pretty funny. Like I, as a young kid, heard all kinds of music. I heard this song called Mr. Windle by Arrested Development, and it was a song about a homeless guy who knew more about the world than the business people walking past him. And I just really went on this journey into this culture of hip hop, and graffiti art's a part of that culture. I think for me growing up, it was purely about just trying to be known. And yeah, I think I just had a big life change when I was in my 20s. It wasn't really about me anymore, just not really wanting to be known through my art, but really just found graffiti an amazing way of connecting with the next generation and just doing life with young fellas through youth work.
Would you be happy to say what caused that change?
Oh, I think for me, pretty traumatic events in my 20s. Losing family members and going through things in life that test what you believe, how you see the world, what you think is valuable. Things that I thought were really important in life that I thought brought me great joy seemed to be worth nothing during that period of time. And so I think for me, I just went on a few years of really just discovering, well, what is life about? Yeah.
What would you say life's about?
I think for me, I had a big change. There's a story I read in the Bible, and it's about Jesus talking about this fella who, for some weird reasons, digging holes in a field and lifts his shovel out or whatever he used, and he found something he'd never seen before. It was a treasure that was more valuable than anything he owned. He sells all this stuff and he does it to go back and buy the land where this treasure is.
So he can have that treasure.
So he can have it. Yeah, he said everything that was really incredible in his life that he thought was of great worth now was not anything compared to what he found over here. And I think for me, that is the truth of what I found when jumping into the Bible for the first time and discovered something greater than I'd ever knew before. I think for me as well, it was a change in life where I found hope in Jesus, and then I wanted to tell others about it. So yeah, spent about 10 years in youth detention centres and basically just sit and draw and connect. But really we're running church services and helping young people transition out. So for me, I love that about graffiti culture. We painted murals in there, and young people were a huge part of that. We would write letters to people outside and put names of loved ones on the letters and put a bit of time and effort into that. People just love getting creative for different reasons. Helps you not to think about what's going on at the time, but then also I think you develop new skills and you learn a passion that's good.
There's something special about this form of art. I mean, that's the first time I've ever made a graffiti mural. I think I'd like it if it wasn't my last.
Yep.
Like, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%.
There's something about just putting yourself out into this big canvas.
Yeah.
Putting something inside of you just totally out there.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's a journey, hey. It's a journey, and I think you probably walk away from that going, you know what, I know what I'll do next time. So it's just about building up on that skill set as well.
Church in juvenile detention. Those are two concepts I would sort of see overlapping very much. What was that like? Like, what would you do in church?
That was one of the best times of my life, in all honesty. We had a lot of young people from the centre come along to it. We'd run about 4 services on a day. We'd have a little bit of hip hop sort of in the worship music. We would have a Bible talk. And then one of my favourite parts was a Q&A at the end, and I loved it. To hear young people just ask the most incredible questions like, this is great. Like, I love hearing this and this forgiveness message and change and that, but truly, like, how does this change me? So stuff like that, we'd wrestle with.
Those are questions that everyone can be asking.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
like, what does this have to do with me?
Yeah.
A book that's like 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
It's just so relevant.
Yeah.
When you dig into it.
You hear things. Maybe you grew up and you went to church, or you got a family member or a weird uncle, or stuff where you just like, I don't know if I want much of that. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, some of the messages we'd share in youth detention are one of my favourite in the Gospel of Luke about, Jesus is on the cross. We'd talk in juvie about the 2 criminals that are either side of him on the cross. And that's something that people hadn't heard much about. And, there's this amazing conversation that Jesus has just before he breathes his last. And it's not with someone whose life looks incredible. It's not with someone who you would say deserves God's love, or, people we might look at and think that. It was actually this person who was nailed to a cross next to him for whatever reason. Can't have been a good one, but this person looked to Jesus and realised at that moment who Jesus was. And in Juvie it was incredible because, you know, this person on the cross said the same things that Tupac Shakur said in his song, "Will you remember me? Is there a place in heaven for a G like me? Remember me." And that's exactly what this guy on the cross said. He looked at Jesus and said, "Will you remember me? Could you? You know, because look at me." And I think for me, that just blew my mind because I had this idea that we earned God's love. Therefore, live well, go to heaven. And here's a guy who hadn't lived well, but who'd realised that and then realised who Jesus was and that he fixes that. And at that moment said to Jesus, "Could you remember me?" And Jesus says, "Yeah, truly today you'll be with me in paradise." So I think for me, I learned about this thing called grace, which I never knew about. Just being able to share stories like that as well in youth detention, but not even in there, just outside of the wall, but for anyone to hear really. It was like this burden was off my shoulders and I could come to God with new eyes and say, you know, I don't want that stuff anymore. I want this treasure I've found here with you.
It's all about the stuff that's worth more than anything else.
Yeah.
That the world could offer.
Yeah. Yep.
Like true treasure.
Yeah. 100%.
Having a YouTube channel where it's pretty important to me and my family to spread positivity, especially to young people. I really appreciate what you do, you know, and what you've done with the people who you've worked with and the lives that you've changed. So thanks for inspiring me. And I really do hope people watching this will be inspired as well to, you know, want to find the treasure for themselves.
Yeah.
But then also you know, what am I going to do with this treasure?
Yeah.
How can I share it with more people?
Huge. Yeah, beautiful. So there's a school that I work at that I absolutely love. It's an animal assisted learning centre and it's amazing. Our young people are amazing who come along. Transform Futures are the overarching organisation who look after that.
That is the end of the positive stuff that you're going to hear though, because we're now going to see the results of the poll and you're probably going to lose. So,
yeah, probably.
I mean,
if you beat me, I'll just take up Cuban.
Yeah. That's good.
Happy days. Cheers, mate.